The toothbrush was dry. Not just dry, it was dusty, like it hadn't touched her mouth in days. It sat there beside mine in the ceramic holder, mocking me in its silence. I stared at it for a full minute, heart pounding, trying to do the math. She came home at 4:23 a.m. I watched the time flicker on my phone without unlocking it. Heard the key, the soft creak of the door, her laugh, the quick shuffle of heels coming off. But no water ran, no bathroom light, no sound of her brushing her teeth, taking off her makeup, or even peeing. She just came in and crashed. I checked again, opened the cap on her toothpaste. Still full, like she hadn't used it all week. My hands were shaking, and I didn't know why. It was just a toothbrush, just a stupid, plastic thing. But something about it broke me in a way I can't explain. Because last night, I begged her not to go, and she went anyway. She said it was just a quick little thing, that she needed to unplug and not be stared at like a prisoner every weekend. Her exact words. Funny thing is, I didn't raise my voice. Didn't say no. I just said, calmly, that I had a weird feeling, that I'd really appreciate if she stayed in this time. She smiled. That condescending, half-pity smile she gives me when I'm being dramatic. And then she left. Red dress. Too much perfume. No ring. The silence she left behind felt like being buried alive. I didn't eat. I didn't watch TV. I didn't even shower. I sat there replaying every second of our last few weeks like I was trying to catch a glitch in a simulation. Midnight passed. No text. 2 a.m. passed. Still nothing. At 3:17 a.m., her phone pinged on the nightstand. A single message from a number saved only as Blackheart. I didn't touch it. I just stared. Then she came home, and I pretended to sleep. Now it's morning. She's still snoring lightly in bed. Makeup from the night before still caked under her eyes. Phone tucked under her pillow like a secret. But I can't stop staring at that dry toothbrush. Because if she didn't use it last night, she didn't use it the night before either. And I'm starting to realize, maybe she didn't come home at all those nights. And maybe last night, maybe it was never about the party. I didn't plan to follow her. I swear I didn't. But around noon the next day, while she was still curled up in bed like nothing happened, my mind just wouldn't stop replaying those little details. The dry toothbrush, the unfamiliar perfume, the missed call she never mentioned. And something else was bugging me. Her heels were still damp by the front door, like she'd stepped in something wet before coming inside. But it hadn't rained here, not even a drizzle. I checked the weather app 3 times to be sure. And that's what finally snapped the string inside me. I didn't confront her. I didn't start a fight. I just quietly grabbed her car keys from the hook, stepped outside, and sat in the driver's seat like I'd done 1,000 times before. Only this time, I wasn't driving anywhere. I just sat there, breathing slow, eyes locked on the navigation history. Her car's GPS had been left on. She probably didn't realize it. Probably too drunk or distracted. But it was right there, the last destination she'd entered. Not Casey's house. Not her coworkers. Not anywhere even remotely close to where she said she'd be. It was a hotel, 41 minutes north of our house. In a part of town she always said creeped her out. A boutique hotel with glowing reviews and privacy-focused amenities. My stomach turned so hard I thought I'd throw up right there in the car. And the weirdest part? The GPS history showed she'd been there 3 times this week. 3. Always between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. Always on nights I thought she was just staying late at work or visiting her sister. My hands were sweaty on the steering wheel. I didn't even realize I was gripping it until the leather started to squeak. I went back inside. She was still asleep, snoring like she hadn't destroyed me piece by piece over the last month. I sat across from her in the armchair and just stared. Her phone was still under the pillow. I didn't touch it. I wanted to, but something in me said no. Not yet. Instead, I opened the closet. She had always been careless about hiding things. I don't know if it was arrogance or just that she thought I'd never question her. But when I pushed aside her coats and heels, I noticed a crumpled paper bag shoved in the corner, barely hidden behind a shoebox. I pulled it out slowly, like it might bite me. Inside were receipts. Hotel bar tabs. Not under her name, but she signed the slips. Missy. She always used that name when she didn't want to be found. The latest receipt was from last night. 2 drinks. One was whiskey. She never drinks whiskey. My heart wasn't just racing. It was sprinting, crashing into itself over and over. I could barely hear the sound of my own breath anymore. And then her phone buzzed. A message preview appeared, just long enough for me to see one word that hit me like a truck. Last night. I didn't need to open it. I didn't need to read the rest. Because now, I knew. She hadn't gone to any party. And whatever happened last night wasn't over. Not even close. I wish I could tell you I confronted her like a man. That I slammed the receipts on the table, demanded answers, and stormed out like some tragic hero in a movie. But that's not what happened. What actually happened? I waited until she finally woke up, stretched like she'd slept peacefully, and shuffled into the kitchen to make coffee. I watched her pour oat milk into her mug like it was just another Saturday morning. She didn't even glance at me, and I sat there, on the same couch where I'd spent half the night unraveling, pretending like I hadn't seen the hotel receipts, pretending like I hadn't stared at that GPS screen until it burned into my eyelids. I asked her, casually, how the party was, and she didn't miss a beat. She smiled, that soft, airy smile she uses when she's trying to downplay something. "Oh, it was wild," she said, laughing to herself. "Casey got so drunk he started dancing on a table. You would have hated it." She looked right at me, not even a flicker of guilt in her face. I studied her. No hangover. No makeup remover stains. No signs she'd even been at a loud, messy party. Just clean skin, fresh hair, and not a single red eye. She was rehearsed. Polished. Like she'd practiced this in the mirror. I asked who else was there. She rattled off a few names from her office. I threw in a fake one. Was Jonathan there too? She nodded instantly. Yeah, he came late. There is no Jonathan in her office. I know because I looked up the whole team last month when I started getting suspicious. She didn't even flinch at the lie. That was the moment something inside me cracked, but not the way you think. It wasn't rage. It wasn't even heartbreak. It was more like quiet nausea, the kind that comes when you realize you've been watching a play and just now noticed all the actors were wearing masks. She asked if I was okay. I said I was just tired. I didn't ask about the message she got while she slept. I didn't mention the receipts. I didn't say a word about the GPS. I just watched, observed. I needed more. I wanted the full truth, not the version she was selling me like a cheap wine at a fake celebration. So I told her I had some errands to run. She barely noticed when I left. Didn't ask where I was going, didn't look up from her phone. But I didn't go to the store. I drove straight to the hotel. When I got there, I sat in the parking lot with my heart beating so hard it felt like a drumline in my throat. I wasn't even sure what I expected to find. Proof? A face? A confession taped to the door? What I found was worse. At the front desk, I told the woman I thought I'd left my jacket in one of the rooms my wife had booked. I showed her one of the receipts from the bag, carefully folded to reveal just the date and amount. I kept my voice low. She said it was room 314. I just need to check real quick. The clerk raised an eyebrow. We don't have a 314. Then she looked down at the receipt again, then back at me. But that's one of our guest suites. That was, booked under 2 names. She paused. I didn't blink. Missy Connors and Tyreek Hartley. That name didn't mean anything to me. Yet. But something in her tone made me feel like it should have. And when I asked who he was, she told me something that made my knees nearly buckle. And it changed the way I saw my wife forever. Tyreek Hartley. At first, it meant nothing. It sounded vaguely familiar, but I couldn't place it. Not right away. The clerk asked if I was okay, probably because all the color drained from my face. I muttered something like, "Yeah, thanks," and stumbled out of the lobby like I'd just taken a punch to the chest. I sat in my car for 10 whole minutes, frozen. That name kept bouncing around my head, trying to land somewhere. And then it did. I remembered it. Not from her world, not from work, not from any dinner party or family story. I remembered it from mine. Tyreek was the guy I had interviewed 6 months ago at my company. A candidate for our tech department. Smart guy, charming, maybe too charming. He didn't get the job, but he stuck in my head because after the interview, Mindy had seen his resume lying on the table when she brought me lunch. She glanced at it and asked, casually, "Oh, he's kind of cute, huh?" I'd laughed at the time, thinking she was joking. She smiled, shrugged, and said, "If we weren't married." And now I couldn't breathe. I opened my phone and dug through my emails. Found his application. Matched the name, the phone number, the face. He was local. He lived downtown, a few miles from that hotel. Same first name, same spelling, same everything. I sat there for a long time just hating myself, hating that I didn't ask more questions, hating that I ever thought she was just burned out or stressed at work. She was spending nights in a hotel suite with a man I once almost hired. A man she saw once on paper, made a joke about, and then somehow found again. Tracked down, ran into. I didn't know. But the connection wasn't accidental. Not anymore. I drove home in silence. No music, no podcast, just the sound of my tires humming against the road and my thoughts screaming louder than anything else could. When I got back, she was in the backyard, on a video call with her sister. Laughing, smiling, not a care in the world. She waved when she saw me, like everything was normal, like I hadn't just uncovered the crack in the universe we called our marriage. Later that evening, I tried to bait her again, told her I was thinking about applying for a job downtown. Her face didn't change, not even a flicker, so I said the name. I said it out loud, Tyreek Hartley. She froze. It was subtle, just for half a second, but her hand paused midair, spoon hanging above her bowl. She didn't look at me. She just said, "Who?" I waited. She repeated herself. "Who's that?" And right then, I swear to God, I felt something break inside me. Not loud, not sharp, just a quiet snap, like the sound of a bone giving way under slow, constant pressure. I didn't push her. I didn't need to, not yet. Because if she was going to lie, I wanted to see just how far she'd go with it. I needed to know the full depth of what I was living with. That night, while she showered, I opened her laptop. It was still logged into her cloud storage. No passwords, no warning. She had a folder labeled miscellaneous. Inside were screenshots, photos. Some of them made me physically sick. But one video made me understand everything. And after watching it, I realized I wasn't just dealing with betrayal. I was dealing with revenge. I had to brace myself before pressing play. My hands hovered over the trackpad like they didn't belong to me. Everything inside me was screaming not to watch it, that I'd never unsee what was waiting. But there was no turning back. She'd saved it, labeled it, chose not to delete it. That meant something. That meant she didn't care if I saw it, or she wanted me to. When the video started, it wasn't what I expected. It wasn't some grainy bedroom footage or anything grotesque. It was her, sitting alone at a hotel vanity, still wearing the red dress from the night she said she was at Casey's party. She was talking to the camera, no filters, no acting, no fake smile. Just her voice. Cold, unapologetic. "I don't know if you'll ever see this," she said, calmly brushing her hair back. "But if you do, then you probably figured it out. Or maybe you finally grew a spine and stopped pretending everything was fine." My chest tightened instantly. "I tried to be good. I really did," she continued. "But you made it so easy to fall out of love with you. The way you wait around. The way you forgive everything. The way you let people walk all over you because conflict makes you anxious. I kept waiting for the version of you I married to come back. But he never did." I stared at the screen in silence. Her voice was level, not angry. Worse than angry, numb. Like I was some distant memory she was finally erasing with full clarity. "You'll probably act shocked," she said, leaning in toward the lens. "Like you didn't see it coming. But I gave you so many chances to fight for me. You never did. And now it's too late." She tilted her head and smiled. That smile. The one she used to use on me when she wanted to disarm me after a fight. And then she said it. Tyreek didn't steal me. I walked. I chose. And honestly, I don't regret it. She paused, looking off to the side, like someone was there. But no one came into frame. The video cut out suddenly, like it had been manually stopped mid-sentence. I sat there, hunched over her laptop, breathing so hard it echoed in my ears. I wasn't even sure what had just happened. It wasn't just cheating. It wasn't just betrayal. It was premeditated detachment. She had recorded a goodbye message to me before I even knew we were breaking apart. But one thing didn't add up. The way she talked to the camera, it didn't sound like she was talking to Tyreek. She hadn't said his name once. She hadn't smiled in a flirtatious way or dropped any inside jokes. It was like she was recording it for me, or someone else entirely. I went back into the folder, opened another file. It was a photo, not of her and him, but of my desk at work. A photo taken from behind me, through the glass window, like someone had been watching me from outside. Another image, a screenshot of my work calendar, one I'd never shared with her, one I'd only kept in a private file. And then I saw the third file, a voice memo, not from her, from him. "Hey Missy, just confirming. I'll be in the lobby at 8:10. He'll be gone by then, right? I don't want to bump into him again. Last time was too close." Too close. What the hell did that mean? How many times had they crossed paths? And why? Why did it suddenly feel like I was the one being hunted? I didn't sleep that night, not even for a second. I just sat in the living room, staring at the wall like it might start speaking. Everything suddenly felt artificial. The furniture, the marriage photos, even the soft hum of the refrigerator sounded staged. I couldn't stop replaying those files over and over in my head. That message from Tyreek, last time was too close. What did that mean? Again? He'd run into me? When? Where? I started scanning through my calendar, looking for overlaps. There were a few days when I'd left work early, dentist, my mom's birthday, that one time I got sick and came home at noon. And a few of those days, she'd also been working late. Could it be that they were using my own schedule against me, timing their meetups to the exact windows when I was most vulnerable? Then it hit me like a freight train. 2 months ago, I'd come home around 1 p.m., unexpectedly. I had forgotten my laptop charger, and I remember walking in to find her startled, flushed, hair wet, in a robe. She'd said she just finished a long bath. I'd believed her, even joked that she must have needed a spa day. She kissed me on the cheek and asked if I wanted lunch. Now I realized that wasn't bathwater on her neck. That was panic sweat. I felt the floor tilt under me. I got up, stumbled to the kitchen, splashed cold water on my face, and stared at myself in the mirror. I didn't even recognize the man looking back at me. How long had I been living in this manufactured reality? But the worst part, the part that made my skin crawl, was that the betrayal wasn't emotional anymore. It was strategic. This wasn't an affair of passion or weakness. It was a game, a long con, and I was the idiot sitting at the center of it, thinking I was still a player when I was just a pawn. The next morning, she acted like nothing was wrong. She kissed me on the cheek. She made coffee. She even asked if I wanted to do a movie night later. I nodded. My voice cracked when I said, sure, because by then, I had already made a copy of the files. I had already uploaded everything to a secure drive. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to watch. I needed to see how much deeper this went. That day, while she was at brunch with the girls, I checked our shared home computer. I hadn't touched it in months. She used it mostly for Pinterest recipes and budgeting apps. Or so I thought. I found a hidden user account, password protected, but I guessed it in 2 tries. It was my name, reversed. Inside were spreadsheets, names, dates, places. My name listed next to every major event in our lives. Every work trip, every family visit, every funeral, even. Tracked, cross-referenced, like my movements had been studied. And there was another folder, one that made me physically back away from the screen. It was titled, After. Just one word. No explanation. Inside were photos of apartments for rent, furniture lists, a moving checklist, bank transfers, scheduled, not yet completed, to a private account I didn't recognize. She wasn't just planning an exit. She was building a new life without me. And it was supposed to begin next week. The day I chose to confront her, I did it with a smile. Not a fake one, not forced, just still, steady. The kind of smile that doesn't reach your eyes but unsettles the person on the receiving end without them knowing why. She came home at 5:43 p.m., 2 minutes later than usual. She tossed her purse on the counter and said, God, traffic was insane. I nodded and offered to order takeout. She picked Thai, her favorite. I already knew that. We ate on the couch. She talked about nonsense. How someone from HR wore 2 different shoes. How Casey broke the copier again. Her voice floated through the room like it always did, warm and controlled. But I wasn't really listening. I was watching. Every blink, every sip, every time her fingers drifted toward her phone. I wondered if she had any idea the entire world she was building was already collapsing around her. When we were done, she asked if I wanted to watch something. I told her to go ahead and pick. She put on a comedy she'd already seen 5 times. Something she didn't have to think about. Halfway through, I muted the TV. She looked over. What are you doing? I didn't answer right away. I reached into my hoodie pocket, pulled out a printed photo, and handed it to her. One of the receipts. From the hotel. She looked at it, then back at me. Her face didn't change. What's this? That's the night you said you went to Casey's party. A pause. 3 seconds. I counted. She smiled, tilted her head. No, this is old. It's not even mine. Mindy, I said calmly. I know about Tyreek. I know about the hotel. I know you've been recording videos. I know about the folder labeled after. I know about the money transfers, the fake email account, the realtor emails. I know everything. Her mouth stayed open for a beat too long, like her brain couldn't decide which face to wear. Then came the laugh. Sharp. Defensive. You've been spying on me? No, I said. You left the door wide open. I just stopped pretending it was locked. The silence that followed was so loud I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. She stared at me like she didn't know who I was anymore. And maybe she didn't, because I wasn't the man she'd spent months trying to outmaneuver. I wasn't confused. I wasn't emotional. I was finished. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, she said quietly. I nodded. I know. You meant to be gone before I noticed. Her face started to crumble, just a little. The corners of her mouth trembled. Her hand tightened around the edge of the cushion. You don't understand, she whispered. I do, I said. You wanted a softer landing. One where you weren't the villain. Where I never fought back. Where you slipped away with your head high. And then I reached under the coffee table and slid over a manila envelope. Inside it, copies of everything. Bank statements, printouts, password resets, even her messages with Tyreek. She didn't open it. I've already spoken to a lawyer, I added. Your new place won't be furnished with my money. Her whole body changed then. She stopped pretending. The act, the charm, the quiet deflections, all of it dropped. And for the first time, she looked cornered. You waited for me to hang myself, she said. No, I replied. You filmed it. I just kept the footage. I stood up, told her I'd be staying with a friend for a while. She didn't follow me, didn't scream, didn't beg. She just sat there, envelope in her lap, blinking like she'd finally read the last line of a script she thought she had written. But the real ending? I hadn't told her yet, because the final twist wasn't the confrontation. It was who she'd see next. 2 days after I left, she texted me. Just a single line. No punctuation. No apology. Just, we need to talk. I didn't respond. By then, I was already sleeping on my friend Wyatt's pull-out couch. Wyatt, of all people, the guy who once told me to stop acting like marriage is a team sport if you're the only one sweating. He didn't say, I told you so, not even once. He just handed me a spare key and a whiskey and said, welcome back to real life. But here's the part Mindy didn't expect. Tyreek called me. That's right, him. At first, I didn't pick up. I saw his name on the screen, and I almost threw my phone across the room. But curiosity won, and when I answered, I didn't speak. Just let the silence sit there, thick as concrete. His voice cracked when he said, I didn't know, man. I swear to God. She told me you two were separated. That she was living alone. That you cheated on her. I still didn't speak. She said you were, he hesitated. That you were controlling. Manipulative. She made it sound like you left her. That was when I finally spoke. I said, check her calendar. Check the transfers. Ask her about the hotel tabs. And then I hung up. But it didn't end there. Because 2 days later, I got an email from Tyreek. It was short, but it said everything. She lied to both of us. I told her I'm done. She broke more than a marriage. She broke a good man. I'm sorry I helped her do that. He attached a video. It was from his phone, her, pacing, crying, begging him to believe her story, saying she only used the money as backup, that she never meant for it to go this far. But he didn't buy it, and neither did I. That weekend, I went for a walk alone. For the first time in years, I didn't check my phone. I didn't scan every street like I was being followed. I just walked. I ended up at a small bookstore that had a coffee counter tucked inside. I ordered something new, oat milk latte, her favorite, ironically, and found a quiet corner. That's when I met her. Not Mindy. Her. Camille. She was reading a book I loved, one I thought no one else remembered. She laughed at a line I always laughed at. We started talking. About nothing. About everything. She was kind, curious, brutally honest, and best of all, she had no idea what I'd just been through. I didn't rush it. We exchanged numbers. We started slow. But 6 months later, I took her back to that same cafe. Same table. Same book. And I told her everything. She didn't flinch. She just held my hand and said, thank God you left. You almost missed your real life. And she was right. Because I did lose something. But not a wife. Just the lie I mistook for love.